Welcome to Midlife Ala Bahari. If your life looks successful on paper but feels different on the inside, you're in the right place. Here, we explore identity, clarity, fulfillment, and how to live more truthfully inside the life you've built. Follow the show to stay connected to the conversation. Hello and welcome to Midlife Ala Bahari. Before we begin, take a moment to arrive. Not as the capable one, not as the reliable one, not as the person who has to hold everything together, just as you. Take one honest breath, and as you listen today, you don't need to fix anything immediately. You don't need to judge yourself. And you don't need to defend the way you've been living. I want you to just notice. Notice which standards still feel clean. Notice which ones feel heavy. And notice which ones may have helped you succeed in the past, but may not be helping you feel free anymore. And that is enough for now. Let's begin there. Today, I want to talk to you about something that on the surface sounds like a good thing. Standards. High standards. And I know if you're listening to this podcast, you probably have them. You probably have standards around how you show up, how prepared you are, how reliable you are, how much care you put into things, how composed you try to be, and how much you expect from yourself. And let's be honest for a moment. Those standards have probably served you. They helped you build a life, become trusted, follow through. They helped you become the kind of person who gets things done, who can be counted on, who does not just talk about values, but actually tries to live by them. So this is not going to be one of those conversations where I tell you to lower your standards. That would not be honest. And honestly, it would not land for most high achievers anyway. The goal is not to become passive or stop caring. The real question is much more subtle than that. Are your standards still serving your life, or are they starting to run it? There is a point where a standard can stop being self-respect and start becoming self-pressure. There is a point where I care quietly becomes I can't let anything slip. Or I want to do this well becomes if this is not exceptional, it does not count. There is a point where I want to be reliable becomes I'm not allowed to disappoint anyone. And that is the shift I want to explore today. Not the obvious version of high standards, but the hidden version. The version that looks admirable from the outside, but inside feels tight, heavy, demanding, and sometimes even a little lonely. And if we were sitting together, chatting over coffee, I would not ask you, are your standards too high? That question is too simple. Instead, I would ask you, which of your standards still feel like integrity, and which ones feel like fear with good manners? That is often where the truth is. Some standards come from values, and some standards come from old protection. They may look the same on the outside, but they don't feel the same inside. A standard that is based on values sounds like, I want to be thoughtful. I want to do this with care. I want to honor what matters. I want to follow through on what I choose. There is a steadiness in that. But a standard that is built on fear sounds more like, I can't disappoint anyone. I can't be seen as careless. I can't be ordinary. I can't need too much. I can't let people see that I'm affected. I can't stop improving. Do you hear the difference, my friend? One has choice in it. The other one has threat. And this is why it can be so hard to see. Because the behavior can look exactly the same. You can prepare because you care, or you can over-prepare because you're afraid of being judged. You can be reliable because you value trust, or you can be endlessly available because you're afraid someone will be disappointed in you. You can stay composed because you want to be grounded, or you can stay composed because you don't know how to let yourself be honestly affected. Same behavior, different truth underneath. And alignment lives in that difference. There is a useful idea from self-determination theory that fits here. Human motivation tends to feel more sustainable when it includes a sense of choice, competence, and connection. And many high achievers have competence. That is not usually the missing piece. You know exactly how to perform or deliver or meet a standard. But when a standard becomes something you obey out of fear, the sense of choice starts to disappear. And this is when even a good standard can stop feeling aligned. So, as we go through this episode, I want you to listen to the standard that feels most familiar to you. Not all of them. Just the one that makes something in you say, "Oh my God, that is mine." That is the one you need to pay attention to. Let's start with one that a lot of high achievers carry. I must always be prepared. And I really get this one. Being prepared can be such a strength. It can make you feel grounded. It can help you show up with care. It can create confidence. It can be a way of respecting your own commitments. But when this standard turns against you, preparation becomes rehearsal for every possible way something can go wrong. You're not just preparing anymore. You're trying to protect yourself from being misunderstood, from being caught off guard, from seeming careless, from losing the image of being capable. You know that moment when you have a simple conversation coming up and suddenly your mind is preparing for 6 different versions of it. What should I say? What if they take it the wrong way? What if I sound too direct? What if I sound too soft? What if I forget something? What if I don't come across the right way? And then you tell yourself, I'm just being thoughtful. Perhaps. But maybe you're also trying to make sure there is no room for anyone to question you. That is when preparation stops grounding you and starts keeping you on alert. The question is not, should I prepare? The real question is, am I preparing to honor the moment, or am I preparing to protect my worth? That is the difference. Perhaps a clearer standard might be, I can be prepared without making everything a test of my worth. This is not being underprepared or careless. It is just not treating every moment like your identity is on trial. Another standard that can quietly take over is, I must do things exceptionally or they don't count. This one is very common in successful people. And again, there is a beautiful side to it. You care about quality. You care about doing things well. You don't want to be careless. You want your life to reflect thoughtfulness. There's nothing wrong with excellence. I love excellence. But when everything has to be exceptional, nothing is allowed to be ordinary. And I have to continuously remind myself of this. And ordinary is where a lot of life actually happens. The quick decision, the simple message, that casual dinner with a friend, a walk that is just a walk, the task that just needs to be finished, the moment that doesn't need to become a project. For some high achievers, even small things become a performance of capability. You can't just send a message, you have to perfect the tone. You can't just have people over, it has to be thoughtful, warm, beautiful, memorable. You can't just rest. Even rest has to be deserved, optimized, or part of becoming a better person. At some point, life becomes exhausting, not because everything is difficult, but because everything is carrying too much meaning. Everything becomes evidence. Evidence that you're capable, that you care, that you're disciplined. Evidence that you're still doing well. Research on perfectionism and self-criticism helps explain why this can feel so exhausting. I'm a recovery perfectionist and I have to catch myself all the time. The issue is not simply wanting to do things well. The issue is when your sense of worth starts depending on doing things exceptionally. That is when excellence stops being a value and starts becoming a pressure system. Here is the truth, my friend. Not everything deserves your highest standard. Some things deserve care, or completion, or simplicity, or simply deserve to be ordinary. That doesn't mean that you're lowering the bar. It simply means that you're placing the bar with wisdom. Because if everything matters equally, your life will be drained by things that never deserved your full life force. So perhaps a clearer standard here could be, I can bring excellence where it matters and allow ordinary things to be ordinary. This sentence alone can change a lot in you. Then there's the standard of reliability. I must be reliable. And this one can feel almost sacred for a lot of people. Because reliability is good. It matters. It is part of building trust. But reliability can quietly become availability. Availability can become expectation. And expectation can become resentment. You start as the person who follows through. Then you become the person who adjusts, the person who responds, who accommodates, who figures it out, the person who says yes before they've even checked in with themselves. And one day, you realize people are not necessarily asking if you have capacity. They're simply assuming you will make capacity for them. And the hardest part is, you might be assuming that too. Someone asks you for something. You're already stretched and you know it. You feel the no before you say anything. But then the old standard steps in. Oh, it's fine. It won't take me long. They're counting on me. I don't want to be difficult. I should be able to handle this, no problem. So you say yes. And later you feel resentful. And then you judge yourself for being resentful. But resentment is often information. Sometimes resentment is the part of you that knows you crossed your own limit and called it kindness. So my friend, instead of asking why am I resentful in a judgmental way, you might want to ask, where did I say yes before I told myself the truth? This is a much better question. Perhaps a clearer standard here might be, I can be reliable without being endlessly available. This keeps your value of reliability, but it also stops asking you to disappear inside it. Another standard that high achievers hold is, I must not disappoint people. This rule often starts early. For many people, not disappointing others became a way to preserve connection, to stay safe, to stay approved of, to stay easy to love, to keep things smooth. You become good at reading expectations. You sensed disappointment before it was even spoken. You learned how to soften yourself just enough that other people would stay comfortable around you. And in many ways, that may have made you thoughtful. But when this standard turns against you, it starts making decisions for you. You stop asking, what is true for me? And you start asking, how will they react? Before you even know what you want, you're already negotiating with someone else's possible disappointment. That is one of the reasons how people lose themselves quietly. Not in a huge dramatic way, but in hundreds of tiny edits. You say yes when you mean maybe. You say maybe when you mean no. You over-explain because you don't want to be misunderstood. You delay the truth because you don't want someone else to feel uncomfortable. And listen, my friend, caring about people is a beautiful act. But organizing your life around preventing disappointment is not the same as caring and love. Sometimes it is self-erasure or people-pleasing. So the question becomes, am I choosing this from care, or am I choosing this to avoid someone else's reaction? This is an honest question you can ask yourself. In this regard, a clearer standard might be, I can care about people without organizing my life around preventing their disappointment. You're not responsible for people. You're responsible for you. You can be kind and still be honest. You can care and still have limits. You can disappoint someone and still be a good person. And this is hard for high achievers to believe sometimes, but it is true. Give it a try. Then there is the standard of composure. I must stay composed. This one is very common in high-functioning people. Composure can be a real strength. It helps you pause. It helps you respond instead of react. It helps you move through difficult moments with steadiness. But composure can turn into emotional disappearance. You become so practiced as being reasonable that you don't know what you actually feel. Something hurts. Something lands badly. Someone says something that stings. You feel unseen or dismissed or taken for granted. But before you even let yourself feel it, you start managing yourself. It's fine. They probably didn't mean it. I'm being too sensitive. It is not a big deal. I should be above this. And maybe yes, perspective matters. Maybe it is not a catastrophe. Maybe they didn't mean harm. But perspective should not require you to abandon your emotional truth. You can be grounded and still be honest. You can be mature and still be affected. You can be calm and still say, that did not feel good to me. If you are always composed but never honest, the emotion will still find a way out. We all have to ride the waves of emotion. Because if we don't, it may come out as fatigue, resentment, numbness, withdrawal, a sharp tone, a quiet shutdown, a loneliness you can't quite explain. Because emotions don't disappear just because you manage the expression. Emotional regulation is healthy. It actually takes 90 seconds for the emotion to find its way through your body. And if you can stay with the emotion for 90 seconds and ride the wave, it is going to be much easier to feel it and sense it and deal with it. Constantly suppressing and editing what you feel can create distance from yourself and from the other people. In research on high-functioning achievers, emotional suppression and surface-level composure often show up alongside loneliness, resentment, and disconnection. This is not about becoming reactive. It is about making room for emotional truth. Perhaps a clearer standard here can be, I can be grounded without disappearing emotionally. This is not reactive, it is just honest. Another standard that sounds positive but can become heavy is, I must keep improving. This one is tricky because growth is good. Reflection is good. Learning and becoming more intentional is good. But for high achievers, self-improvement can quietly become self-rejection. Every part of life becomes a project. Your habits, your body, routines, mindset, home, relationships, future, everything. Everything is being scanned for what needs to be better. And at some point, you're not really living your life. You're simply editing it, measuring it, and continuously optimizing it. You're constantly asking yourself what needs to improve. And I'm guilty of this too. The result is that you're never allowed to arrive anywhere. There's always another layer, another version of you that could finally be more disciplined, more peaceful, more focused, more aligned, and more fulfilled. But I want to ask this gently. When does growth become a refusal to accept your own humanity? When does improvement becomes a way of saying, I'm not acceptable yet? Especially in midlife, this matters, my friends. Because many successful people reach a point where they are tired of treating their own life like a performance review. They still care, they still want to grow, but they don't want every part of their existence to be another improvement project. Perhaps the standard can be, I can grow without treating myself as a problem to solve. Growth can come from love. It can also come from your values or curiosity. It does not have to come from the belief that you are always behind. There is one standard that may be the most dangerous because it sounds so strong. I must be strong enough to handle it. Many high achievers are strong. You can handle a lot. You have handled a lot. You have carried responsibility, pressure, complexities, uncertainty, emotional weight, decision fatigue, you name it. You know how to keep going. And that strength deserves respect. But capacity can become an obligation. Because you can carry something, you assume you should. Because you can manage, you keep managing. Because you can function, you don't question the cost. And because you're not falling apart, you assume you're fine. This is one of the hidden traps of capability. Capability can hide in depletion. People may not know what something is costing you because you're still functioning. You're still responding, showing up, getting things done, making it look manageable. But inside, something may be getting quieter. Your joy, softness, your desire, your patience, your sense of agency, your connection to yourself. So when something feels like too much and your first thought is, I can handle it, I want you to add a second question right away. Is it aligned for me to keep handling it this way? High achievers often ask, can I do it? Alignment asks a different question. Is this right for me to keep doing it this way? Perhaps the new standard here could be, just because I can carry it, it does not mean it is aligned to keep carrying it. And this is something that is worth remembering. Now, let's make this personal. Nothing heavy, just honest. Because the point here is not to decide that all your standards are bad. They're not. Some of your standards are connected to your values. Some are part of your integrity. Some are worth keeping, and some need to be updated. Here are 5 questions I want you to sit with. First, which standard has the most authority over my life right now? Is it being prepared, exceptional, reliable, not disappointing anyone, staying composed, always improving, being strong enough to handle it? Which one of these runs the room? Not which one sounds best. Which one actually makes decisions for you before you have consciously chosen? Second, did I choose this standard or did I inherit it? Some standards were never consciously chosen. They were simply absorbed. Maybe you learned that being impressive brought approval, or being easy brought closeness. Maybe you learned that being composed avoided discomfort, or being reliable made you valuable. Maybe you learned that being strong meant you won't be a burden. And none of that makes you wrong. It simply makes you human. Now you're allowed to ask, does this still belong to me? Third question, what did this standard once help me protect? Maybe it protected belonging, pride, control, safety, identity. Maybe it protected a sense of being enough. We don't need to shame the standard. We simply need to understand it. A standard becomes easier to recalibrate when you can respect what it's trying to do. Question number 4. What is this standard costing me now? Is it energy, ease, sleep, joy, connection, truth, freedom, self-respect? What is it? Your ability to know what you actually want. Sometimes a standard once protected you, but now it costs more than it gives. And this is the moment where you really need to recalibrate your standard. And fifth question, what would this standard sound like if it came from self-respect instead of fear? Not how I abandon this standard, but how can I clean it up? How do I keep the value and remove the fear? How do I make this standard more honest for who I am now? For example, I must never disappoint people becomes I can care about people and still tell the truth. Or I must do everything exceptionally becomes I can bring excellence where it matters and let ordinary things to be ordinary. I must be strong enough to handle it becomes I can honor my strength without using it against myself. This is not collapsing your values or rebelling against them or becoming careless. This is simply you realigning your standards. Here's a sentence I want you to complete. The standard that is turning against me is blank. It once helped me blank, but now it costs me blank. Let me give you a few examples. The standard that is turning against me is always being prepared. It once helped me feel safe, but now it costs me ease. The standard that is turning against me is not disappointing people. It once helped me feel accepted, but now it costs me honesty. The standard that is turning against me is doing everything exceptionally well. It once helped me feel proud, but now it costs me peace. The standard that is turning against me is staying composed. It once helped me feel in control, but now it costs me emotional truth. Or the standard that is turning against me is being strong enough to handle it. It once helped me survive, but now it costs me softness, joy, and support. This sentence is simple, but it is powerful because it separates the past function from the present cost. And that is how you stop judging yourself and start seeing the pattern. Now, here's the uncomfortable but useful truth. Some of your standards are not proof of your integrity. Some of them are proof that you have not yet given yourself permission to be fully human. Let that sit for a second. Some of your standards are proof that you still believe you have to be exceptional, composed, useful, prepared, pleasing, or strong in order to be okay. And I say this with compassion, because high achievers are often praised for the exact standards that quietly exhaust them. Believe me, I'm a living example. People may admire the version of you that overfunctions. They may trust the version of you that is always prepared. They may feel comfortable with the version of you that stays composed. But your life cannot be built around the version of you that is easiest for everyone else to admire. At some point, your standards have to include you, your energy, your truth, your needs, your season of life, your values now, not just the version of you that learned how to succeed. And just to be clear, this is coaching work. This is not therapy. This is not diagnosis. This is not treatment. We are not trying to pathologize your standards. We are using them as information, as a way to understand what is still aligned, what is outdated, and what needs recalibration. Now, let's make this very practical. Here is the habit stack I want to give you. Use it when you feel pressure, guilt, resentment, over-preparation, over-explaining, or the urge to push through. This one has 4 steps. First, notice the pressure. Ask yourself, what am I requiring from myself right now? Am I requiring perfection, availability, composure, speed, strength, exceptional performance, no disappointment, constant improvement, whatever it is, name it. Then name the hidden fear. What am I afraid would happen if I did not meet this standard? Am I afraid that someone would be disappointed? Am I afraid that I'll be seen as careless? Am I afraid that I feel ordinary? Am I afraid that I will lose respect? Am I afraid I will feel guilty? Am I afraid I will not know who I am without this? Whatever it is, no judgment, just honesty. Step 3. Find the value underneath. Ask yourself, what value is this standard trying to protect? Is it care, excellence, responsibility, connection, stability, growth, integrity? Remember, we are not throwing away the value. We are separating the value from the fear. And then choose the clearer standard. Ask yourself, how can I honor this value without abandoning myself? And this is the whole practice, my friends. How can I honor care without overextending myself? How can I honor excellence without making everything a performance? How can I honor responsibility without being endlessly available? How can I honor strength without carrying what is no longer aligned? How can I honor growth without treating myself like a project? Very small, very specific, and repeatable. This is how alignment is built in real life. Not always through one dramatic decision. Often through ordinary moments where you stop letting old standards make conscious choices for you. So this week, choose one standard. Just one. Please don't overhaul your whole personality. We are not doing that. Choose just one standard that feels active in your life right now. One standard, one recalibration, one small behavior change. And here's the boundary I want you to test this week. I will not keep obeying standard simply because it once helped me succeed. Before you over-prepare, over-deliver, over-explain, over-function, or override yourself, pause up for a moment and ask, does this standard still reflect my values? Or is it just familiar? Familiar is not the same as aligned, and successful is not the same as sustainable. And this is exactly the kind of work we do inside Sage Compass. Sage Compass is for successful people who are not trying to blow up their lives, but know they can't keep living by old rules either, because those old rules cost them their energy, truth, and self-respect. Inside the program, we'll look at the standards, values, patterns, and choices quietly shaping your life. Which standards are still aligned? Which ones are fear-based? Which ones belong to an older version of you? Where are you confusing excellence with self-punishment? Where are you calling something responsibility when it's actually self-abandonment? And how do you begin to recalibrate your life without rejecting your ambition or walking away from everything you have built? The goal is not to become less capable. The goal is to stop using your capability against yourself. That is what Sage Compass is designed to support. Clearer standards, clearer decisions, strong self-respect, and more aligned way of living inside the life you already have. Here's what I want you to remember, my friends. Your standards are not your enemy. Many of them helped you build a life that works. But not every standard that helped you succeed is meant to govern the rest of your life. Some standards need to mature. Some need to soften. Some need to become more honest. Some need to be released. And some simply need to be reconnected to the value they were originally trying to protect. You can honor your values without overdoing anything. That is not lowering your standards. That is raising the quality of your relationship with yourself. And maybe that is the real standard now. Simply living in a way that lets you respect yourself without abandoning yourself. Because the most mature standard is not the one that makes you look endlessly capable. It is the one that allows you to live with integrity, truth, and peace. Thank you for being here with me. I'll see you next time on Midlife Alabahari. Peace out. This podcast reflects my own views and is provided for general information, education, and entertainment purposes only. It is not professional advice of any kind. Please seek qualified professional support for your specific situation.